Hey, I'm Victor Stabin. I'm here with my social media forecaster, John Ambrose. And we're doing our second podcast. So one thing leads to another, and we're talking about my commercial artwork and what I hang up and what I don't hang up. One of the things that I have in my gallery is a 4 by 5 inch painting of Lou Reed. And there's a funny story behind the Lou Reed painting.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. That was John. He said okay.
Yeah.
And yes, he did. So I get a call from D'Addario Strings. D'Addario Strings saw a advertisement I put together that had about 16 different portraits that I did. And they wanted me to do a portrait of Lou Reed because of what they had seen. The 16 portraits were done 4 inches by 5 inches. I started making Renaissance quality imagery on little teeny canvases of my friends. And I just wanted to give myself an assignment of something I would like doing. And one of the things I liked about doing these little portraits was I could put it in my jacket pocket. And I was single at the time. And if I went to parties and people asked me what I did, I could take a painting out.
You could just pull it out.
Not a photograph,
You'd have
not
it.
a postcard. I'd take the painting out. And I remember being at a party, and the art director from Rolling Stone magazine was there. He said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, here's a sample, right?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "What?"
What's-
Anyway,
Where'd
so
you come from?
where did it come from? So basically, the art director from D'Addario Strings saw this series of paintings. They didn't know how big it was, but they wanted me to do a poster of Lou Reed from a portrait. They would turn this portrait into a poster.
Yeah.
And I said to him, the interesting thing is, once you blow up a 4 by 5 painting, you see the grain of the canvas, and it's unusual looking. It's not the way people would normally approach something that's going to get turned into a poster.
Of course.
By starting out stamp size and going poster size. It's usually the opposite way.
Yeah.
So one thing that the art director said to me was, you're kind of on your own as far as getting photographs of Lou Reed because he doesn't like to get photographed. And every photograph that we could give you, people have seen already. So we'd like to get something different, try to figure it out, how to make it different. So illustration, my style of illustration is really, portraiture especially, is predicated on getting a good photograph. Nobody's posing for you these days. Lou Reed ain't hanging out with me in my apartment for a week.
Of
You're
course.
Going, Lou,
Right.
try not to move. So anyway, I'm glad I got the job. It pays okay. And I wind up...
this photo.
What? I got to get this photo. It pays okay. And they give me a lot of guitar strings. What? So, do you play electric at all?
No.
Oh, anyway,
Not anymore.
I have a lot of electric guitar strings.
For life?
For life. I have a lifetime supply. So anyway,
It's a good thing you
that
play
night,
guitar.
I live and work in the same place. Every night I go for a walk that's about a mile to a trattoria that's down 6th Avenue from where I live. I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting next to Lou Reed.
Go figure.
Yeah, well, you never know. And so I go over to him and go, look, I'm not one of these people who want to get your autograph, and I really don't want to bother you. I have to tell you, though, I got a call from D'Addario Strings today, and they gave me a job to do a portrait of you. I'm sure you're well aware of this, but there's no photo. I live up the block. If you come to my house, I can take the photo, and we can work for something that's totally original. Gave him my number, called me the next day.
Yeah.
He came by. I'm not a Lou Reed fan. I don't really, like, all I know is take a walk on the wild side, probably paid his rent for the rest of his life, but I'm not familiar with his music. I'm into John Coltrane. The music is so dense compared to Lou Reed that I'm just afraid to open my mouth and say the wrong thing, right? So Lou Reed comes in. I'm a little quiet, and I'm also in awe that I got the guy in my apartment. He looks around, he goes, "Are you famous?" And I said, "Not until after I get this portrait done." So
Right.
he poses for the portrait. Subsequently to that, my downstairs neighbor is Bill Flanagan. Bill Flanagan's a writer. He's a music critic, and he's the editor for Musician magazine. He also knows Lou Reed because I've seen him in my building with Lou Reed. Lou Reed's like a pest on my block, right? And All right, so my neighbor Bill sees Lou Reed walking into the building, realizing he's going into my apartment, and he says to me the next day, "Lou Reed was at your house." And I said, "Yeah, he was at your house 2 weeks ago.
Right.
He's at my house now." He said, "We're doing an article on him, and we need photographs of him." I said, "Yeah, Lou Reed came by, took photographs for this poster I'm doing of him." He goes, "Oh, can I use the photographs for the
Because
article?"
everyone's got the same problem
Yeah,
with the photographs.
yeah. So can I use the photograph? So I said, "Sure." So I give it to him, and he's actually going to pay me a little bit of money for using the photograph because
Sure.
magazines do that.
Yeah.
And I
did.
tell Lou Reed or whoever I was speaking to representing him that photographs were going to be used by Musician Magazine. They called me back that day. Their lawyer called me back that day and kind of shut me down and said, "You're selling images of Lou Reed." And I was kind of taken back. I didn't expect to be attacked. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I thought I was being helpful. And they demanded all the photographs of Lou Reed that I took. So I gave them the photographs and the negatives, but I actually had 2 sets of photographs made. So I didn't give them everything. I still have a stack of Lou Reed photographs.
You've got bootleg Lou Reed.
No, they're not bootleg.
Yeah.
They're, well, are they bootleg?
They're like-
What is bootleg? It's kind of like,
They're like black
I
market.
got black market Lou Reed photos.
Yeah.
And so anyway, not only does Lou Reed eat at my restaurant, hang out with other people in my building, he goes to my gym. So I'm at my gym, and then Lou Reed walks in. This is like all happening pretty close to like the first phone call from D'Addario. Lou Reed walks in. I try to talk to him, and I say, "Hey, that incident with the photographs." He looks at me. He knows who I am, and he blanks me and keeps walking. Like, "You can't talk to me."
Whoa.
Right? And it was like, I'm just thinking, I don't know what it's like to walk in Lou Reed's shoes, but he's acting prickly. And there's only so much thinking I could do about it. So I do the Lou Reed portrait. I think it's a good portrait. You know, I wish I could say it was one of my best, but I think it's a good portrait. And the Dario liked it. They wanted to buy it. And so they said, "What do you want for the portrait?" And I knew I wasn't going to get that much from them. So I asked them for a Steinberger guitar. I don't know if you know what they are.
That was popular in the time, yeah.
Yeah, they're made out of graphite.
Right.
And
They had a weird tuning.
they even have a
inside.
battery in them. And I play a little electric guitar, but this guitar is so loud and so screaming
Right.
that it's actually about a $2,000 guitar at the time.
Right.
It was so loud and so screaming that I didn't feel comfortable playing it.
Okay.
So I gave it to my friend Sean, who's a terrific guitarist.
I
don't
met
know.
him.
You met him,
I've met
right?
him before, yeah.
I gave it to Sean. Sean, like, I didn't stay in touch with him all the time, but eventually Sean just sold it to somebody for some other guitar, which kind of hurt my feelings just a teeny bit. But he didn't like the guitar, so what are you going to do? You give it away.
Right.
And the last thing I could say about the Lou Reed story is that I'm listening to Terry Gross on Fresh Air, and she's interviewing a photographer, and she's giving the photographer's resume. And part of his resume on National Public Radio is, and he did a portrait of Lou Reed. And I'm thinking to myself, I never would have put that on my resume.
Right.
What's the matter with me? When am I going to get hip?
So I'm wondering, this is the best part of the story, is what are the odds that all of those people are in the same neighborhood, they know each other, and it's all happening during one project at the same time?
The funny thing about living in Manhattan is there's 8 million people in New York City at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 million of them live in Manhattan. But Greenwich Village, I lived 1 block north of Greenwich Village. I lived in Lower Chelsea. So, but I gravitate to the village all the time. That's where I'm doing all my shopping, all my dining, all my socializing, or a lot of socializing, all my strolling. And the village is this funny neighborhood in that New York was put on a grid somewhere in the mid-1800s but the village opted out. So the streets are all on an angle. They don't make any sense. You can't really get around uh, unless you know where you are. You can't get around just by the numbers because the streets have names. And so you do run into a lot of people that you already know, very much like a small town.
That's strange.
And
It's unique.
well, the thing about New York that I like was you never know what's going to come at you. There's a certain protocol when you're walking down the street and you don't know anybody. But when you're in the village, you meet more people than you would normally meet. And I have to say that, you know, there are like 5 or 6 times that I would look at a window in a restaurant and I'd see Lou Reed dining with his wife. What's her name? She's so famous. I love her work too. Well, fill in the blanks, folks. But you would see the same people over and over again. And you just wouldn't see them every day. So the odds are higher.
There.
There, yeah. I broke up with this one girl I was in love with. She, I wanted her to come back to me. She said no. I got a new boyfriend. The new boyfriend lived around the block. And I get to see them every day walking up and down the street from my window, holding hands, smiling.
That hurt for a little bit, probably. You know,
It still makes me laugh.
it's just you inside painting, working on something.
There I am, lonely.
There they are.
There they are.
In love.
All right, that's it.